Well, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Gonna be doing a little bit different video. If you're here for my van build videos, we'll be getting back to that, but as you can tell from the title of this video, I got another little project going right now. So what we actually have here is a 2007 BOBCAT S185. It has a Kubota V2003 turbo diesel in it. So we picked this up from a construction company for a song. They went to use it one day, and this was sort of their general little Bobcat they had up in a community, and all of a sudden it wasn't running right and wasn't operating, and they took it in and basically got a bill for a rebuild, because from their diagnosis somebody had actually dropped a nut into the high pressure injection pump, and they just deemed it was way too expensive, so they sold it off. So we're just hoping maybe we can dig a little deeper and find out what exactly is going wrong, and maybe we can repair it on the cheap and get it running as soon as possible. So we knew the high pressure pump had been damaged, so I was able to disassemble everything on the side of the engine, basically remove that high pressure pump, and at that point I did discover that there had obviously been damage to the high pressure casing, and the actual lifter for the one cylinder was stuck in its bore. And once I was able to remove that lifter, I also realized that lifter had been cracked and was now oval and wouldn't work anymore. So once everything was apart, I cleaned it up, got that bore nice and smooth. There wasn't actually that much material missing, and I figured maybe if I could just get a used cam, we could put it back together and it would operate just fine. Also from the damage, obviously once a bunch of aluminum had been knocked off that case, it actually sort of wiped and smeared on one of the cam lobes. And I was basically quite easily just able to take some fine grit sandpaper and sand all of that material off and get it right back down to the cam lobe surface, which was basically undamaged and looks like it will operate just fine. So once all that was done, of course I did an oil flush, got all the old oil out, got the old filter out. We put a magnet up through the oil sump just to make sure there wasn't any debris in there. Everything looked actually really good. Cleaned out the oil sump for the injection pump. There was a bunch of debris in there, but it looks like it was basically contained just to the pump, and we were able to clean it all out. So once we had all the new oil filter in, I reassembled everything, and then we tried to start it up. Now I don't know a ton about diesel engines. I've only worked on my TDI Jetta and then a Volvo diesel engine for my sailboat. So we were cranking over, trying to get it running, trying, and it wasn't running. And then finally we realized that the actual lift pump seems to not be working. So I've ordered up a new one of those, and I'm gonna try to put it in. Hopefully this thing will fire right up then, and it's gonna be a steal of a deal. But we won't know until we get that new pump in, so let's do it. So here is our new guy. We'll test it the same way I tested the old one to see if it worked, and just make sure that this acts differently, and hopefully it all goes smooth. So this one, if I cycle, doesn't push any fuel out. Looks the same. Yeah, so that pumps fuel perfectly. So the original one was definitely faulty. So of course, if you've ever worked on diesel engines before, you know that anytime you start to work on the fuel system, you have to bleed the air out of the fuel system. And again, I haven't worked on diesel engines a ton. The few times I have, it seems to me that as long as you get the air out of the fuel line up to the injection pump, then you're kind of good. Because of the way the glow plugs sit in this engine, they cover the actual nuts on the injector, so we can't crack those and bleed the air out of them. So I'm just going to bleed it up to the injection pump, and then hopefully it'll fire up and basically sort itself out as it runs. So yeah. Okay, I think it's time to see if it'll start. Okay, we ready?
Okay.
Ready?
Yep. Okay, try cranking it one more time.
So the astute YouTube watchers probably notice it's a different day, and that's because we couldn't get it started last night, and we went through a bunch of the systems and the shut off and everything to make sure everything is working, and it looks like it might just be because it hasn't run for a long time. There's probably air in the fuel system still. And the way the BOBCAT starts, like you can't just crank and crank and crank. It sort of cranks for so long and then stops, and you have to turn it off, turn it back on, crank, crank, crank. So I've got some starting fluid, and hopefully we can just get it sort of running and cycling. And then I think it should fire right up. Everything seems good, so let's try it.
As far as she'll go, eh?
Ready?
Yep. That almost sounded normal.
Ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Yep. We're getting lots of smoke out of it. Oh, yeah, but it's pumping out smoke like crazy here, so it's firing.
Yeah. Black smoke?
Kind of whitish, which kind of means lean, right?
Would mean like a leaky injector or something.
Well, keep trying it again.
Okay, so today is third or fourth time we're doing this. Just about to try to start this thing up. I think my dad actually just drove in, so he can help me do this. And yeah, I've got some heat on the engine to try to warm it up because it's getting colder here now, and hopefully that will help it crank over. But we'll give it a shot and see. Ready?
Okay. All right, go.
Ready?
Yep.
Still not starting, not 100% sure really what's going on. We're getting smoke, it's cranking over. I don't know. You ready?
Yep. Getting close, eh?
Any black smoke coming out?
Yeah, I can't tell. It's pretty white. Well, let's keep trying. I mean, I like to, if I could keep it running like that, that'd be sweet.
Okay, ready?
Yep. Holy cow, you better get out of here. Is he okay?
Well, here we go, another day. Still not getting this thing to run. So I think I'm just gonna start going through and checking things like pump timing, pump pressure. Just see if I can find something that's, you know, that's wrong. So not getting it to run, it's cranking over as you saw, and lots of white smoke. So I'm thinking, I've talked to a few people that they said the pump timing is probably off, so it doesn't seem too hard to check it. The dealers and everybody tells you that this has to be done by like a dealer or a mechanic or whatever, but I've checked the manual, it doesn't look that hard, and so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Well, more crazy adventures in the Bobcat experience here. So we're just trying to figure out why this pump timing is so far off. We set our number 1 cylinder to compression at top dead center. We've checked the marks, and both the camshaft and the camshaft for the injection pump are 180 degrees out. And 2 reasons that's really weird is, 1, there's no evidence of anybody being in here, so why would this have happened? And 2, if we were to set the camshaft timing properly according to the marks, that also would be 180 degrees out. So I don't know. Right now we're going to try taking off the idler gear, timing the injection pump right, putting the idler gear back on, and seeing if we can get it to look right and like time right. But that camshaft is still going to be, according to the marks, 180 degrees out. Crankshaft, camshaft, injection pump camshaft. So both our camshaft and our injection camshaft are 180 degrees out. Okay, well, it's been a little while, as you can see, as my facial hair is probably different. It's snowing, it's cold, it's Canada, so we only have like 6 hours of sunlight up here. But we've made progress on the Bobcat. We discovered that the camshaft that runs the injection pump, actually when the nut was dropped into it, it actually sheared the keyway that's on the camshaft and was throwing the whole engine out of timing. So that's why when we first tried to start it, it actually was blowing white smoke, and that was atomized fuel. So that was what gave us the clue for that. But we did send it off to a machine shop to get it pressed off. It was quite stuck on there. Once they got the gear off the cam, they saw that the keyway had been sheared. No repairs needed to be done, just a new keyway was made, and the gear was pressed back onto the shaft. And so we everything's back assembled, and we're just gonna go see if it starts. So the family's here, and we thought, why not have a Bobcat starting party? So we're gonna head out there and see if it starts. I just wanted to add a quick something and say that The camshaft on the engine was 180 degrees out, but that was just how it had been set by the guy that installed it. Because the engine cylinders were running in pairs, it really didn't matter that it was set up that way, but when we assembled it, we put it back to the proper timing according to the timing marks. So the only problem that was keeping this engine from running was the fact that that keyway had been sheared, and not because the camshaft timing was out.
Okay, tell me. A couple more cylinders added in.
That's running. Yeah. Well, that's great news. A couple $100, a bunch of time and troubleshooting, and we got ourselves a pretty sweet Bobcat. So it only needs a couple more things. Coolant, we want to put a new block heater in it, but it's working like a charm. So yeah, it's gonna be sweet to have a Bobcat around. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and yeah, we'll see what comes up next. Hopefully we'll be jumping back to the van project here in the next little bit, but yeah, lots of other little projects will be on the go. So have a good one, guys.